Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Role Model webinar for this year's Technovation World Summit. My name is Grace Atala, and I'm a Technovation alumni, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. This is a talk I have personally been really looking forward to, so I'm so glad everyone's able to join us today. Firstly, I just wanted to mention that when we're referring to women or girls, Technovation welcomes all transgender people and also those who identify as non-binary or gender non-conforming and want to be a part of the female-identified environment. We will get to hear from our amazing women panelists with their advice on topics such as the importance of women in leadership and advice they would have for their younger self. First, I want to give a big thank you to our panelists for coming and sharing their advice with us today. First off, we're going to give a little introduction of everyone so we can get to know everyone a little better before we jump into the main theme of our webinar today, role models. So I'll give a little introduction of myself first. I'm the co-founder and leader of Joy to Job, which is an organization I actually founded through Technovation, would have been about 3 years ago now. And we try to help students like those in the audience with their career exploration by connecting them with panelists through monthly webinars. I'm also an engineering science student at the University of Toronto, aspiring to become a biomedical engineer, and I'm grateful to be a U of T National Scholar. Currently, I do research at the University of Calgary, and I'm assisting with a clinical trial where we're seeing how electrical stimulation impacts people with spinal cord injury. So that's been super exciting. And one day I hope to combine my passion for entrepreneurship with biomedical engineering to create a tech company for people with disabilities. Now, moving on to our first panelist, Ella. Ella, as a VP of Data Science, hi Ella, as a VP of Data Science, Commercial and Service Lines at Shopify, Ella, PhD, is responsible for overseeing the data operations that power the company's marketing and international strategy. Dr. Halal is experienced in managing data teams, leading data and insights mining, and an expert in machine learning concepts that empower Spotify's millions of merchants. Beyond Shopify, Dr. Halal is an adjunct assistant professor at the University of Waterloo at the Center of Pattern Analysis and Machine Intelligence. She's also the industrial advisor for the Statistics Society of Canada on data science and analytics. With a commitment to creating impact through diverse teams, Dr. Halal also has become a well-recognized evangelist for women in tech and STEM in Canada and abroad. She's been honored by the Google Anita Borg Memorial Scholarship as a Google Scholar for her active role and leadership in supporting women in technology. Thank you so much, Ella, for joining us today. And now we will move on to our second panelist, Kay. Kay Malcolm. Hey, Kay. Kay Malcolm is a Senior Director of Product Management at Oracle, a Fortune 100 member and the world's largest database management company. She leads a team of database product managers who develop strategy and programs for Oracle's customers. Last year, Kay and her team defined and created Oracle Live Labs, a hands-on workshop platform that has grown to over 3 million views. She's been featured, very exciting, she's been featured in global magazines like Essence and has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. She's married with 2 boys, her hobbies are dance, and she's actually a certified hip-hop instructor. Her TikTok is getting ready to launch soon. Note that, everyone. Another hobby of hers is crafting. Welcome, Kay, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Last, but certainly not least, is Kripaka. Kripaka is a lead software engineer at FactSet, where she leads a team that's focused on helping clients do more productive and value-add activities by eliminating manual redundant tasks. She gets to explore new groundbreaking technologies, do a lot of agile development, and overall work like a startup in a very large organization. Kripaka has spent nearly 12 years developing financial technology. She graduated with a master's degree in computer science from Rutgers University, New Jersey. Kripaka is involved in several business resource groups at FactSet with a special interest in Women's and Asian Business Resource Group. As an immigrant and a woman, she's been in several situations where she's been the only one who looked like her. Therefore, increasing minority representation in tech is an area she's passionate about. Outside of work, she loves winding down by trying out new recipes on her family, including her husband and 2 rambunctious children. Welcome, Kripaka. Thanks so much for joining us. Now that we've kind of introduced our panelists, gotten to know them a little better, we're going to jump into the main theme of our webinar today, role models. So the first question, I'm going to put this out to you first, Kay. We were wondering, in your perspective, what is the value of having women in leadership positions? So we also may be wondering what motivated you or inspired you to become a leader in your field.
Okay, so and hi everyone who remembers me from last year. So you guys know we're going to have a lot of fun today. Since we've got a data science doctor here than me with database, let's start with the data. So I mean, you guys know that the percentage of women and the percentage of men in on Earth is just about the same. And Kripaka, I loved what you said about being the only in the room, because oftentimes, most times, sadly, I'm the only. When you take that equal parity and then you move it into corporate and then you move it into technology, the numbers fall. It is a fact. It is why we are here today to encourage you. The problem with that is that when women hold leadership positions, the companies actually do better. So when I was coming up right through college, and then I was like the only woman and the youngest in the organization, etc., one of the things that I thought was I am going to, when I'm in a position where I can influence, I am going to do that. I want women to see that they can actually be their whole authentic selves. Because you guys see what I did today. See my lashes? I wore my special lashes. These are Moxie lash dupes that I got on Amazon. And you're like, what are you talking about, Kay? Why are you talking about lashes? Well, I've got a podcast, Lashes Love Technology. It is to highlight fantastic women like Ella, like Kripaka, and show you, because you can't be what you can't see. Okay, that was a long answer to a very short question.
I love this last sentence so much. You can be what you can
Mhm.
see. And don't get me wrong, like we can push through glass ceilings and figure it out, but it's much harder if you can't see it, right? Like I totally love this sentence, Katie.
Yeah, because like Ella, so when you were coming up, first of all, your bio is super impressive. So we have to connect on LinkedIn later. But when you were coming up, you didn't see Ella's. So it made it that much harder for you to persevere when those times got tough. So what did you do, right, to persevere and keep going?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I will tell you what I was lucky in. I think the thing that I was lucky in, I have a dad that kept on saying I can do anything. And it's really important. I want to remind you guys, words matter, words matter, words matter. And I know people think it's easy and it doesn't make a difference and life is hard. And yes, all of this is true, but it does make a difference. Because when it's said enough times, sometime when it's really dark, spark shines in and you remember these words and it's just you keep on going. And I kept on pushing. I'm actually a girl from the Middle East. I had every reason not to succeed. I had professor at the university told me women like you just stay home and cook and clean. And I'm here. I'm leading 300 people team, helping optimize billions of dollars. And I'm actually doing good in the world by helping entrepreneurs around the world. It's just words matter. So even in the toughest time, remind other people, even if you have the doubt in your heart, remind other people, because when you put it in the world, it comes back to you. So remember that will be my advice. Put it in the world, it comes back to you, and it comes back to other people that you love.
Awesome. I love that so much, Ella. And especially, I know that I just went through my first year of engineering, which I guess like kind of the microaggression stuff like that, they can kind of add up. But even then when another girl, she's like, oh, what you're doing is awesome. Like, yeah, you kind of hold on to that. And then that kind of inspires me to say that to other people. So yeah, can totally relate to that. Was there anything else, Ella, you wanted to add on to on the side of women in leadership, or should we move on, do you think, to the next question?
So the question was, what's the importance of having women in leadership?
Yeah, I
And I
guess a
think
specific value that women can add.
so. I think Kay said it all. Kay touched on diversity. She talked she said, if you can't see it, you can be it. And the truth is also like the next steps, keeping on going upwards. Like every time we push the ceiling a little higher, some young girls can look at it and say, you know what, I can even push it a little bit more. So that's the why. And of course, we can talk about diversity of thought, value to consumers and customers. We can talk about the like the equity when you're building products, when you have diversity on the table, when you have diverse people sitting at the table, they build better equitable products that is accessible for everybody because they think of everybody because of the diversity around the table. So it's good for the business, it's good for the world, and it's actually really good for people to see it, to be it.
Yeah, sounds like a bit of a snowball effect. Kind of women in leadership do good, get more women in leadership, do like even more good. So that's awesome. I guess we'll move on to our next question, a bit more of a general question. We'll put this out to you first, Kripaka. I was wondering if you had any advice that you would give to your younger self, or just if there's something that you wish someone had told you.
Yes, there are a couple of different things, but what I'm going to touch on has the same theme. I wish someone had told me to stand up for myself and speak about the value I bring to the table. I've spent many years working very hard, holding myself up to these really high standards. And I did not realize that just that alone doesn't bring you growth. It is important to share your work with others, build a network, and most importantly, lobby for yourself. And then find that network that will lobby for you. And why is this important? It's important because as you grow in your career, you will often find that it's impossible to do everything yourself. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to be able to do everything. So you have to have that network of like trusted advisors. And I found that to be extremely important and beneficial in my career. And I just want everybody to remember that asking for help from your network, asking for them to speak up for you does not make you weak. It just makes you smart. It just makes you someone who knows how to use their network to their advantage. And then I also, implore everybody to be that person for someone else.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually something I feel like I haven't actually really heard a lot, is like to actually use your network. I feel like people say, oh, get on LinkedIn, like connect these people. But I know I personally sometimes feel a little bad about reaching out, or it's more like a only if desperate call for help kind of thing. But from your experience, that's not the case. Like use it where it's kind of there for a reason type of thing.
You're in those desperate times, the people who will step up and actually do stuff for you are the people who you have actually networked with, people whom you have built that relationship with. They are more likely to speak up for you. They are more likely to take those very specific actions that are likely to benefit you. So, at the early stages of my career, I also did not know this. But since I did not, I want to share this with other people who are just starting their careers, that yes, build that network and use that network.
Awesome. Well, I'm personally glad
to
you
add
told me
to
that. That's definitely helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Ella. Oh,
To
sorry,
add
we're
to
good.
that, I think the way. Oh, am I muted? I'm good.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So the thing that I would add to that is that somebody like I learned about this concept about a few years ago, maybe more. The difference between a mentor and a sponsor. A mentor is somebody who can. Yeah, I know this is a good one, right? Like it was an aha moment in my head. So the difference between the mentor and a sponsor. A mentor is somebody you go to and you ask questions and they help you think through it and figure answers and all of that, and then so teaches you, maybe levels you up, bounce ideas with you, but then you go on your merry ways and that's it. Your sponsor is somebody we can do what you do with a mentor, but also they are your advocate on tables that you're not sitting in, and you want to have more sponsors. And you need to build, and to be a sponsor, to have a sponsor, you need to build relationships. You can ask anybody to mentor you. And we always tell, and I think I said that to Grace last time we chatted, is like, we keep on telling women, go get mentors, go get mentors. And women's go running around trying to find mentors. And don't get me wrong, it's good. Find mentors, try to ask, try to learn. It's good to expand your network. But the key is find the people that you aspire to and build trusted relationship with them. Because even if it starts as mentorship, continue coming back, show them your progress. And if you build enough trust, they will be your advocates. They will go fight for you on tables that is not. And if you are a woman in a position that you can advocate for somebody, women lift women up. And I know we keep on saying that. The truth is, in reality, we don't do that. We need to do better. We need to genuinely do better, because we don't do that as much and as frequent and with as much passion as we should. We're apologetic when we do this. We hold back when we do this. But no, we should, because this is how it works. Like in general, when you're sitting with somebody and tells you, you know what, I tried this. I'm going to use the lashes example, Kay, is like this new type of lashes, or this, I'm actually using a shampoo from like a women entrepreneur. She's amazing. Oh, this is so awesome. And then you're like, okay, awesome. Let me see it. Let me go check it out. Same thing. I have this great candidate that I've been like, this great person that I was working with or talking to and supporting. And then you have already trust by proxy, the proxy of other relationship. Your network, it becomes wider because you have more anchor of sponsors in it. So lean into sponsors, get mentors, but try to work to get sponsors. Work through it, ask, come back, show work, show progress, as they say.
I love that. So, there's this TED Talk that came out I think it was like 2016, and it talked about that, right? The difference between mentor and sponsor. And then what she did was then she went a step further, and this is something that for women, and I wish I knew this when I was younger, because it really, if I would have figured this out earlier, I wouldn't have gotten stuck as many times as I did. And it's currency, and using currency to rise to the levels that you desire. Now, when you think about currency, especially at work, you think, oh, work is a meritocracy. If I do a good job, because I hear women say this all the time. Oh, okay, you're really out there. Well, I prefer to operate sort of in the shadows and do my work and do a good job. That is performance currency. Now, performance currency, what that does with your sponsors is it raises your visibility so those sponsors can see you. The problem is that's only 50%. The other 50% is what you both alluded to. It's that relationship currency. And the relationship currency that is generated by investments that you make in people, because people don't make logical decisions, they make emotional ones. So if you are increasing and ensuring that as your performance currency is rising, you are also working on your relationship currency, then in those rooms, because as a leader, here's what I hear about ways to be a good leader. If you've been invited into the room, and ladies, you know which room that is, right? The room where most of us don't get invited to, you have a responsibility. You should use your voice to speak on behalf of those who aren't there. I like to say, my boss one day asked me, why are you here? And I was like, oh, well, if I've got a seat at the table, you know which seat I choose? The one right by the door. And you know why? Because I've got long legs. So I'm going to keep my leg right at that door to let as many women in as I can. And that's the thing. And so ladies, right, you all are in various stages of your education and your growth. Remember that. Ella said, mentor versus sponsor. Get the mentors. You need them, right? But get those sponsors and then do a good job. But doing a good job is not going to get you there, and you'll be frustrated. Work on and spend that time on the relationship currency. You've got how many of us here? 4 of us. We should all be getting LinkedIn requests from all of you. Don't have a LinkedIn? Get a LinkedIn.
Yeah, I
Love
love
that. Yeah, totally.
Kind of relates back to, I guess, what Kripaka was talking about, or like about actually showing the work you've done, I guess. So I kind of take that as like, if you have a sponsor, you do all this hard work, but you kind of need to like show then that work to your sponsor, not just work hard and hope they're going to see it.
They're not going to just say, oh man, Kripaka and Ella, look, let's dive and look at what they're doing. No, you've got to advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
Hey, look at this. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's actually one of the biggest challenges that I've had at university my first year is, I guess, I think something that is important to me is like being humble, let's say, like not being boastful. But I think sometimes what I've learned is that can go to the extent where like you don't have confidence in yourself. So I feel like to actually believe in yourself and then to choose when you want to say the things you've done and when maybe it isn't the right time. But yeah, I like this conversation. Definitely something I'm gonna keep in mind.
One thing to also remember is that we all have recency bias. You're likely to remember things that happened most recently, which is another reason why we should remember what Ella said, that is, keep showing progress. Show up and remind people of what you're doing. It's not enough to, talk to a person once and tell them, I'm working on something cool. But if you just don't stay in touch and tell them what you're, how you've progressed, it's not super effective. They're not going to remember. Like the people who can influence change are typically very busy people. So you want to remind them of, what growth you've done and what progress you've made.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I guess maybe just one follow-up question. I was wondering, Kay, you kind of mentioned like those personal relationships, like personally being there for someone. I think you kind of mentioned something along those lines with your sponsor. I was wondering if you could just like give a few examples of how you would do that. Like if you see someone who you're like, oh, this could maybe be a potential sponsor, like what would be, I guess, more like direct steps you would take or ideas of things that maybe students in the audience could think about doing themselves?
For them to go and get sponsors.
Yeah, or maybe,
Okay.
if you see a sponsor, something you're like, oh, maybe this could be a potential sponsor. Kind of what do you do from there?
I'll give you an example of one. So 2 weeks ago, I did a talk for the Oracle interns. It's like maybe like 220. It was at the class that is just finishing up today, is their last day. And, it was on for 45 minutes. I told them about my journey. I told them about, some of the things that I did to sort of set me apart, right? That whole so what? And I think, Grace, that's what you're alluding to. How do you highlight your so what? And it's so funny. Women, we are socialized to say, oh, if you're advocating for yourself, you're boasting. But then the men will say, hey, look at what I've done. And in the session, I'm a senior leader. I'm leading our big Cloud World Summit. So I don't have a lot of time. And a lot of them reached out to me and they said, hey, do you have 30 minutes? I'd love to chat with you. I can't do 30 minutes times 200. So I was like, I would love to, but here are some avenues and places you can go to find mentors. One of them reached out and she said, hey, Kay, I went on your LinkedIn and I saw that you went to University of Maryland. Go Terps. Don't know if there are any Terrapin fans here. How about if I set up one 45-minute session with you on Friday, and I will get all of the other interns to join, and it can just be a Q&A session with you. What do you think I said? Yeah. Because then instead of telling them no, I could say, hey, if you're available Friday, that's when I'll be talking. Then I went to her LinkedIn because now I'm curious, right? Oh, she's computer science. Oh, she's graduating in May. So then I asked her after the session, I said, are you looking for a position? Because I had just gotten off the phone with my EVP and was told I had a headcount to do hiring. So it's really about putting yourself in that place to even help the sponsor. So when I meet people, I think, what can I do to help them? Not with an intent to get something back. I don't know if it was Ella or Kripaka who said this, but when you keep putting good in the world, the universe, just that energy just reflects back to you. And she was doing that. Not, she didn't know what I had. She was just trying to get time with me as well and thought, I'll bring the other 200 along. So as you are looking at and approaching it, I asked them a question. What keeps your boss up at night? How many of you can answer that? When you all go to these jobs, you think about that and you make that the addition to your job description, whether it is or not. That will even make your boss your sponsor because you're helping him or her.
Love this. I love this. I love this. This last piece of advice is gold, guys. And I'll tell you, like, this is what anybody I'm mentoring or like sponsoring, I always tell them this. Because the truth is, it's not the people with the fanciest degrees that are the most important employees. It's not the people who can talk the best, joke the best, or like you fist pump every time you walk in the hallway. These are not the ones that you're going to go fight for when layoffs are happening or when increases or salary pumps are happening. That's not these ones. The ones that will make, as a leader, your life better, that they will remove barriers of you or like mountains off your plate. So you want to be the one that comes in and helps carry the load. So focus on that type of impact for the company and impact to the most important mainstream problem at the moment, whether it's for your boss particularly or for the company. And when you do this, like if you focus on impact, outcome, if you focus on outcome, not output, it goes a long way. Because the
Ella, can I
people who
steal that?
change,
Outcome, not output. I love that.
I tell that to the team all the time. Yeah, please go ahead. Outcome, not output. You're trying to move to get the impact, to help move the needle. So if your boss comes and says, do X 100 pages, the question is the why. If the why is this is like an executive summary he needs to get, and you do a better job and say, okay, here's 1 pager, and this is this, and this is this, and this is a slide deck that you can take, you actually focus on the outcome. The outcome is the communication with the execs, and you made his life or her life better. And accordingly, you become an MVP, most valuable player in that team, because he can rely on you, and he or she. And it's really important. This is what builds trust. And trust is the most valuable currency.
Hey, Ella,
Performance build trust. Relationships build trust. So go ahead.
what about if the boss is like, can you take notes?
Take notes and then summarize them for them.
I'm not taking notes.
I have taken notes in meetings, but then when you come back with that 1-pager that says, these are the people who were in the meeting, here are the bullet points we discussed, here's what I think we should do next. I think that's a super powerful outcome.
Right.
You don't send notes
actually,
with just a dump of everything everyone said. Again, it's the outcome, right? It's that this is what we need to do next. Here's an opportunity for us to chase. I've done it, and I found that to be super beneficial for myself. And, I think that's a good outcome to sort of chase after if you're the one ever like literally in that position.
And I'll tell you how you think about it. The question is the why behind his question or their question. Like, so if their question is, this is an important meeting, I really want somebody I can trust to take effective notes, and this is the framing that you have in your head, then that's okay. We all sit together and like, I'm going to take the best action items with the clarity, and actually I'll come back with even better proposals. If the thing is like, oh, you're just sitting on the corner, just take notes.
Because you're the only girl on the meeting.
Exactly. And then I would very gracefully say, yeah, like if you took it before, it's like, oh yeah, I think X is really good at doing that. I think let's rotate it around. So what I would do is take it and make it an action. Again, you're in the driver's seat of your own life and of your own career. Nobody's in the driver's seat of your own career. You are. So if you're sitting down, filling the spot that you're sitting in, contributing. Again, outcome, not output. Output is sitting at the table. Driving value while you're sitting at the table is the outcome, because okay, regardless how biased people are, at the end of the day, business is business. People want to succeed and win. If you drive value, people will be, yes, we want them at the table. So
Yep.
drive the value, sit in there and drive the value. If the first value would be notes, that's okay, but don't always get stuck into one role.
Mhm.
Like, pass it along and say, you know what, that's amazing. I think this is a very important meeting. We need to make sure that we are taking proper notes. I'm going to do this one, but we're going to do round robin starting alphabetically starting next time. So
Alphabetically. So Alan, you'll be taking the notes next time. And in your notes, put note taker for next meeting, Alan.
exactly.
I've seen too many women get confused with output because they're like, oh, they're asking me to engage, because they're not asking that why. Why do you want me to take notes? Is it because you are, we've got folks who are executives, and back in the 70s, 80s, the women who were present were admins. So, if that's the case, okay, that round robin, Alan, you take them the next time.
Awesome. I love those, even just like little, I guess, actually the kind of usable direct tips. Because I feel like it's like, oh, just don't take notes. But I know if I was in that situation, I wouldn't know.
Sure.
What do you actually say? Like, how do you actually pass it off? So Alan's up. He's up next. Awesome. Well, maybe we'll move on. Just we have about 10 minutes left, but I want to at least touch on one other topic that I think is kind of a word that gets put around a lot. So I want to make sure we touch on it, and it's what a lot of people refer to as imposter syndrome. So I was wondering if that's something that any of you guys have ever been affected by, or if you just have any general comments on imposter syndrome. Yeah, just in general. So maybe Kripaka, we'll start with you on this one.
It's a tricky term to use. But if we're talking about just not feeling like one is good enough for the role that they're in, yes, I have experienced that. The way I've learned to navigate that feeling over the years is to be just honest about the gaps between, what knowledge and experience I bring, and then actively working on closing them. So basically, the first most important thing is to just be aware. Be aware of what you bring to the table and where the gaps are. But I found that the most important thing for me is to accept wholeheartedly that there are always going to be gaps. There's just no way around that. And in fact, I have found it beneficial to take on like a beginner's mindset to work towards problems. It helps me break problems down. It helps me like really narrow down what it is that I need to do at that moment, and get into the specifics, which then help me figure out, what do I need to learn? What skills do I need to develop? And then this in turn benefits not only me, but then the team I'm working on, the employer I'm working for. So TLDR, accept that it will always be a thing. You will never know 100% of what you need, but work on identifying what those gaps are and work on closing them.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I think at least for me, that beginner's mindset, just like in university, going from maybe in high school, like you knew more stuff, you go to university, it's a different show. So the beginner's mindset is definitely what helped me a lot. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
I think it's really, really important to know, because we have been talking about imposter syndrome in women for so long and so much. The truth is, imposter syndrome is a problem that both women and men and all genders go through. We are the truth is, industry is very competitive. We are everywhere, every job. We are in a world of I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they're so smart, and they were saying about we're in an age of renaissance to some extent, right? We keep on innovating. We're human ingenuity is we're just building on each other. Information sharing is so huge. So and that's normal that at some point, as we're running into this, we get everybody feels as oh, am I equipped to this? Am I ready to do this? I think the key difference between like women and men, and I'm using women here loosely, or like, because like I don't think it's very gender based. I think there's two camps. Like everybody feels imposter syndrome. I would like, there's two camps of how people react to it. There are people who get it more and internalize it more and make it louder, amplify it inside of themselves. And there are people who are able to control it and dim it down. So it's always there to some extent. Because if we're not doing that, we're actually not challenging ourselves. The truth is, if you are in some form of a new box or even a little bit stretched box, it's normal to have imposter syndrome. You're doing stuff that you haven't done before. You're looking as like, can I really do this? Like the panel before this was an amazing woman talking about space and going to space. Like if they don't feel imposter syndrome, if they don't have any worries or fears at some point, I was like, are we serious here? But it's normal. Like I want us to normalize this, because we can either amplify the voice in our heads or control and manage the voice in our heads. I feel imposter syndrome at least once or twice on a daily basis. And I want to call the daily basis piece. If you think this is once in a while, it's not true. It happens more frequent than you want. It's all about what you do with it. Are you going to make it louder that it cripples you, or are you going to like be your own self friend, give yourself a pat in the back, tell yourself a good sentence that a good friend will tell you, you know what, you got this. Maybe listen to a little bit of like a good song, maybe he do a couple of hip hop moves, whatever
Thank
you
Ella.
what
Yes.
is whatever your jam is. But just give yourself a pat in the back and just lean in, because
Yeah.
I think that's what matters. It's not that we're afraid. It's like, what do you do after you get these feelings, after you get these thoughts? So that's my 2 cents on.
And you know what, Ella, the thing about imposter syndrome is it puts the onus on the individual. First, they name it syndrome. So I was looking at a conference I'm getting ready to speak on, and it was a conference for all genders. I looked through all of them, nothing on imposter syndrome, because 70% of the attendees in that conference are men. But in women conferences, women sessions, this question of imposter syndrome comes up, and it makes it seem as if we're not supposed to be here. So those feelings of self-doubt, you're subconsciously telling women that you're taking a seat away from a man who should, and again, gender terms loosely, but right, roles, someone who should be here. So you should feel and internalize, and like Ella said, make these feelings, give them a bigger space in yourself than they should. Did you guys know that I think the number is women will apply to jobs, and ladies, you all are getting ready to apply to many jobs in your career. So I want you to remember this. Women will apply to jobs when they have at least 80 to 90% of the skills that are listed in the job description. Men, they'll apply when they have 30. What does that say? That says that for us, that growth, that learner, that beginner mindset that Kripaka talked about, we don't adopt that, take it by the horns and say, well, I've got 30%, I'll grow into the rest. We do what Ella is saying don't do. We take it, we internalize and say, until I have that degree, until I have this many years, it says 3 to 5 years. If I see 3 to 5 years and I have 2 years, I'm applying. So.
Yeah, and I guess one other thing, kind of talking about imposter syndrome, I heard this really good thing from a prof at U of T, and she's thinking behavioral economics or something that completely changed my view on imposter syndrome, is like, let's call it maybe like imposter thoughts. Like they're just little thoughts that come in every once in a while. And like your thoughts don't necessarily define you. They're just things that sometimes you have a bad day, sometimes things, they come and go. And yeah, I think that it isn't something that you need to fix, is really important. And I guess the last thing was that imposter syndrome, the thing that she was talking about that really made me change the way I see things, especially kind of in engineering, is that having imposter thoughts, that could maybe be a reflection of your environment, not necessarily your own abilities. Like maybe you need to do something so that you don't feel that way. So that it's more inclusive, so that you feel like you're more welcome there. So yeah, those are just a few thoughts I wanted to share because it really made a big difference for me in the way I see imposter syndrome. But I think we should change it to imposter thoughts or something along those lines.
What Ella
Well,
said, words matter. So let's call it
Yeah,
imposter
that's right.
thoughts from now.
Awesome. Well,
Great. It
unfortunately,
looks like there's a question in the chat from Esther.
oh, is that, where do I go to comments?
Want me to read it?
Go for it. I think
Okay,
we're just
so it
coming to
says-
the end of our time, so if we make it quick, but yes,
Okay.
let's get
All
to
right.
it.
So Kripaka, quick. Thinking about the girls who listen to you, is it as hard as it seems? Is there also a place to have fun, celebrate success, enjoy work and achievements? Come on, girls.
100% yes.
Of course. Just to let you know, winning is sweet, and you know what? Tough times, even with the right people around you, is much sweet. Like again, life is what you put out there. Life is good. Think good thoughts. Have good people around you, and you know what? Every time you fall, it's just another chance to stand up again. Just dust yourself off and move on. You're gonna be fine. Like I didn't get to answer the question that Grace said is like, what's the advice that you'll tell your younger self? It's just gonna be okay. We put too much
Awesome.
pressure on ourselves. It's gonna be fine.
We touched on a lot of challenging topics, but I promise it's not all doom and gloom. A lot of us have a lot of fun at work. We get to do very cool things, and change the world around us. And I think that's absolutely incredible. So take heart and, enjoy yourselves at whatever it is you do.
Amazing.
And take your passions and make your passions part of your job.
Yes.
You all have never met another hip hop instructor who was also a senior director of product management. I literally get paid to record TikToks. Here are my lights, and I'm recording you all on my phone. Say hi. The ability to blend your technology with your passions is something that a career in technology absolutely allows you to do. And then you can do things like see the world and experience things that you wouldn't experience in other fields. So for my younger self, I would listen to Ella, listen to what Kripaka is saying, and enjoy the ride. And dance while you're doing it.
Awesome. Dance, yeah. Awesome. That's so amazing.
Yes, come on, Ella. I love it.
A little dance, everyone. Awesome. Well, Ella, Kripaka, Kay, thank you guys so much for sharing your advice with us today. I know there's so many things that I'm personally going to bring back into my own life, and I really hope that for the rest of the audience, you remember some of the things that some of these amazing women have shared with you. I think, yeah, lots of great advice, and we just really appreciate all your time.